Hello, today let's talk about one of the most interesting or even the most interesting device of this year. It's HiBy RS2. As index suggests, it's a portable audio player, and if you're following the news and trends in the audio, it's another product based on their new Darwin architecture. I did review for the RS6 Android player with R2R ladder and their own software filters and lot of stuff. But now they decided to implement this in more compact device and make it most focused on audio. So here you won't get Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, just pure operation system focused on delivering you music and not more than that. But still, it's compact player with R2R matrix with lot of sound tweaking options. Price is $480 and actually it looks like a pretty promising thing. So let's have a closer look. As you can see, they decided to make a package really fancy. Same as with RS6, they decided to use a combination of gold and green colors in the design and the rest. I think it's brand colors for this Darwin architecture that they will be using in many more models in the future. I already told in the RS6 review why it's so interesting, but probably will repeat it once again today. So here on top we have player itself and the gold coin. I tried to pull it out, but probably it's glued inside, so not sure. Maybe we'll try to pull it out later. And here everything is packed into different boxes. You're getting really nice and really good actually stock case. They offer third-party case, but to be honest, I don't think there is much sense in it. So manual, protective screen, some warranty papers, and two boxes with additional cables. So let's see what we've got here. So this one is USB type A to USB type C for charging and other purpose. And second one is actually an adapter from USB type C to coaxial out. So it's really good to have it in the accessory set even for relatively inexpensive model. Of course, calling almost $500 device inexpensive is a bit more exaggerating, but still compared to what it could have cost, still probably we can apply this definition here. So as you can see, in terms of presentation, everything is done on a really superb level. In terms of design, it also looks great. Actually, that's the design I've expected for some new version of HiBy's R3, but they continue using their previous more smooth design for R3, and they made this more masculine, more edgy design for this RS2. It's surprisingly compact. You know, nowadays seeing such small player seems like pretty unusual, and 5 years ago actually it was like average sized player, and now it can be really considered as compact. It's made of aluminum, it has black color. Would be cool if it will be made of copper, but maybe some limited edition will be available later. And still it's built really solid and feels really great in hand. So on top we're getting a nice set of outputs. As you can see, we have balanced headphone output Pentacon, 3.5mm one and 3.5mm line out as a separate output. And the unusual control element here. It's simultaneously on-off button, and at the same time it's the button to enable disable charging when it's connected in USB digital to analog converter mode. So if you move it to the right, it works as an on-off button. So and opposite. And if we move it to the left, it's actually disable charging in the digital to analog converter mode. Unusual element of design. I never seen such two-side toggles before. And here is volume wheel. It has nice clicks, so it rotates and clicks really well, and encoder registers these clicks also well. Also LED indicator, not super bright, of course it's changing color based on the signal resolution, and 3 buttons to control playback. So it's pretty convenient to reach them when it's in hand, but still you have to change grip a little bit, but it's unavoidable for a small player. And on the bottom you'll get USB Type-C. It will be used for charging, to use it as digital to analog converter, to access memory and so on, or to connect external digital to analog converter. So universal connector here. And about the charging, it took a bit less than 3 hours to fully charge battery, and it will give you up to 10 hours of work depending on gain, settings and so on. But sometimes less than 10 hours, so 9 hours is more or less reachable average. And the unusual thing here that is really surprising for many is 2 micro SD slots. For a lot of people with huge media library, it could be a good plus. So you can have, I don't know what is maximum card size now, 2 terabytes, so you can get 4 terabytes if you'd like. And the rear panel is covered with some glass-like material, same as the front panel, and thanks to the HiBy they applied protectors for both sides at factory. And on the front you'll get small sensor screen, 480 by 360 resolution if I remember right, and it has normal brightness, not super bright, but here is maximum brightness. It remains visible under the direct sunlight, so it registers swipes, and you can change some settings, navigate media library and so on. And forgot to mention, you'll get up to 320 milliwatts from the balanced output and 125 from the single-ended out. So in terms of design, also really good player that feels pleasant in hand and is easy to operate. In terms of design, everything is built around one screen. Here is the menu, and swiping to the right you're getting to now playing screen. Swiping back you can get back to the options. It's pretty convenient, and swiping from top you can get quick access to volume control and playback navigation. And also you can lock the screen. I don't know why they did it, because you can swipe right from everywhere and get the same controls, but like a bit of extra settings can be used. So first button it's music, and it's your media library. All tracks browse by files, by albums, by artists, by genres and by format, and also favorites and search. Here is the list of all tracks. As you can see, scroll is pretty fast, and it's not super convenient to navigate when you have a lot of files, but if you like shuffle through your whole media library, of course it will be a good option. I prefer organization by files, and just select the one you'd like and your media library will be presented as you organize it. And here is the list of albums. You can get even small previews, artists, genres, so you can select some genre, and here is album in this genre, and actually artist. You can select some artist, then you can get album and track by this artist from this album. So everything is pretty traditional here. In the Darwin menu you'll get less settings compared to RS6, but still it's pretty interesting. So you can select digital filter, default and extra 10 other filters. So there is a slight difference in nuances, but you'll need to hear them yourself to select the ones that suit you better. Also you can select non-oversampling mode, and to my ears in non-oversampling mode, you'll get a bit more clarity on the mid frequencies and bass, but at the same time treble became more rough and a bit less refined, so I prefer keep non-oversampling mode off. And here with harmonic controller you can add additional harmonics, so for me they color sound in a bit more emotional and slightly warmer meta. And here is the signature MSEB. Another great thing, you can adjust sound using controls like more crisp or more thick notes, bass texture, more light, faster or thumpy, and a lot of other options like airness, impulse response, faster and harder, or slower and more musical. It's a really great option for the non-professional to tweak the sound more to your liking. And playback settings, here you get additional linear equalizer. Honestly, I don't see much sense in using it here because you have tons of other options. Updating media library, should it be updated automatically, playback mode, DSD output mode, and gain compensation. Remember the position, actually I prefer remembering last position. Gapeless playback, you can limit maximum volume output and make it remembering volume when you turn it on and off. Crossfade, gain, replay gain, play through folders and channel balance and through albums. So this will be enabled if we connect some load here. System settings, it's language, brightness, backlight time. You can select additional colors of theme if you prefer something non-traditional. Font size, usually in these players I prefer it set to the middle. You can see it's a bit better to hit. USB mode, storage or digital tonal converter, button operation when screen is locked, time settings, idle timer and sleep timer, display battery percentage, standby mode, status LED if it's not bright, but if you want to disable it, absolutely it's possible. Double tap screen to wake up, nice feature but consumes a bit battery. And screensaver settings, actually I usually prefer it to be disabled. I don't see much sense in showing something before I get access to the screen. Also screen rotation, if you want you can use it upside down. Not sure about usage. Reset to factory and firmware update, so most likely we'll get some updates in near future. And in the about menu you'll get links to the HiBy social media and basic information about the player. And now playing screen is also pretty traditional. You'll get album cover, name, resolution and navigation and additional menus. So here you can add it to playlist, select equalizer, album, properties or delete this track. And here you can change the track's playback order. So as you can see, all basic features are present here and works pretty well. And of course let's talk about the sound. From one hand, sound is pretty similar to what we've got in RS6. It's still leaning a bit towards the warmer side of things with a hint of additional weight, warmth, impactfulness, and with a bit highlighted overtones that makes music like more musical, actually what is promised on the box of this player. But the most surprising thing here, at least for me, is that it actually sounds better than RS6 to my ears. Probably HiBy gets some feedback based on RS6, and actually here you'll get a bit more tighter low frequencies and a bit more forward treble. So, you know, it's surprisingly interesting sound, because from one hand it's slightly on the warmer side of things, but on another hand actually it's not treble shy or treble recessed or softened in terms of treble. Of course it's not forward in terms of treble, but also they are not recessed or pushed back. that gives a pretty pleasant representation for those who like less analytical but more musical sounding. And also keep in mind that you can do tons of tweaks with Darwin and MSEB, but here I will talk about the stock firmware. Actually, while I was trying this player, finding some tracks, I find out that actually indicator of position in the track is not working. But I'm pretty sure that it's because of first version of firmware I have. It's 1.04 and 1.05 is already available, so probably it was fixed. But it's present here. And let's talk about the sound. So bass is nice, it's saturated with textures, it's saturated with overtones, it's well controlled, has a good depth, it has a slight hint of additional weight, but at the same time it doesn't sound as super bloated or super massive with lack of resolution. Of course, it's not making maximum focus on the micro contrast, but at the same time you get nice amount of details, you get rich sense of naturalness because of highlighted overtones. So it's not for those who like absolutely natural representation, but if you like electronic music or genres that relies on the bass weight, you'll get a hint of additional weight. And if you like some double bass, low notes on piano or some kind of organ and other stuff, you also get a great sense of additional saturation for these notes. It's also really pleasant, so option for those who prefer fun over neutrality. And the first example, it's Yello the Race. This track is like gorgeous. I like such collectives who like not just writing music but more architecturing it, building different effects, different ideas, and here you'll get tons of different stuff, starting with different audio effects that simulate actually the race, and ending with that great saxophone that is really rich and meaty, and this player highlights that part and it sounds really enjoyable. So I started listening this track and listened it almost to the end. And the second example for the low frequencies, it's John McEuen, Excitable Bowie from the Rock Reimagined that I mentioned many times. And it's really well recorded tracks because it's made by Chesky Records and it's a binaural track, and you get that sense of super realism, and at the same time low notes of guitars and bass line goes also pretty deep and sounds really in a really satisfactory way. And mids, they also have a bit of additional weight, but not too much. It gives more body to the instruments. It also gives a great sense of realism to male vocals, especially like that low male vocals with a lot of texture and great timbre. Also, it's not super critical for the quality of records, but still, of course, better recorded things is required because upper mids and treble area is really clean here and crisp, and you hear the issues in that aspect. Imaginary stage is noticeably above average both in width and in depth. Width is slightly better than the depth, but still 3D effect is nicely defined here, especially on some filter settings. If I remember right, for example, third filter built a better stage for me, but it's still a subjective thing, so of course to you it can be different experience in this aspect. Also great body for the instrument, and actually this added weight, it disappears when we transition to the upper mids, and they sound clean and pretty crisp. There is no additional energy there, but still female vocal sounds also pretty pleasant thanks to highlighted emotions and actually overall clarity of the upper registers, like, you know, good two-in-one solution. And first example for the mid frequencies, it's actually another architectures of sound. It's Pink Floyd, High Hopes, like a great underline under main main albums of Pink Floyd, like some summary of their best albums, best works. Some people don't like Gilmore Period, but for me this Division Bell is just a second pinnacle of Pink Floyd albums. And in this track you'll get lot of things like that bell in the beginning, great vocal, perfect instruments, and all that stuff. And this player just highlights this magic, making it sound less natural and more accented and focused. And second example, it's also just like all-in-one example. It's Guns N' Roses, November Rain, and here you also get an orchestral part, great guitar solos, emotional vocal, and everything that we like in music. And even despite some people who just hate this track because it's overused everywhere, it's still really great to hear, and thanks to the highlighted and boosted emotions that this player offers us, it also sounds really magical. And the treble area, it's actually surprisingly clean and clear, and it's a bit of improvement for me over RS6, because RS6 had a bit recessed treble. Here treble is just linear, but at the same time without additional energy or something like that. So it's a great solution for those who like treble but don't want them to be over sharpened or super uncomfortable. And it's pretty good in saturation with overtones. It offers like slightly better than basic layering, and it in exchange it gives you a lot of airness and that nuances of the audience where track is recorded. Of course, when it's recorded in a well manner to preserve these nuances. And the first example, it's David Bowie, Starman. Oh, and of course it's first of all about the guitar. It's pretty high pitched, and this player represents all the nuances of this guitar, all that overtones really well, and as well as voice of David also. And second example, it's my traditional example that I use to test the amount of treble for the players. It's Iron Maiden 7th Son of a 7th Son. I don't know why, but they recorded it with a lot of sibilance, that as in the chorus it just should be harsh. When when it doesn't sound a bit harsh, that means that player has recessed treble. And when it sounds too harsh, it means that it has over-accented treble, over-energetic or something like that. And here you'll get just a little bit of that sharpness, like how it should be in this track, and overall it's good in representing percussions and other stuff that goes in the treble area, meaning that high frequencies is really balanced here. In terms of power, of course, it's player created first of all for some in-ear monitors, and it's not super powerful to drive some full-size headphones that requires a lot of power. Of course, sensitive full-size cans, it will also drive okay with balanced output especially, but keep in mind that no 300 ohms of impedance or like below 100 decibels sensitivity, but it pairs really well with a lot of different models, including like Sivga that I mentioned recently or something like that. Select some model with normal sensitivity and it will drive it. And actually speaking about the comparisons, to be honest, it doesn't have a lot of rivals here. Main one is probably Kane N3 Pro that also has a similar design idea, but it's a bit bigger. This one is a bit compact, and it also has that idea of a bit warmer sound, but it does it slightly better. In case of Kane, they achieved that with tubes additional coloration, but here it's made on the digital tonal converter level and it sounds a bit more natural and a bit better saturated, bit more emotional to my ears. And other players in this area that build with like regular digital tonal converters, they are simply totally different. So to summarize everything, this player really proved my interest, really proved that my interest was not in vain. It's really great sounding, not for everyone, but actually it's a great addition to your collection. It's a great number one player if you like musical representation, because it's done that really nicely. Or if you have that something natural, something focused on the micro contrast, and you want to get like opposite signature to try it and to test. So really great offer by HiBy. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a great day.